Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, we seem to be in an interesting place with our pop girlies at the moment. We have a new crop of pop girlies who don't seem to have anything behind them other than TikTok videos and followers. And then we have our old ladies, our divas returning. We have Kylie had a revival with Badam Badam, and then she's rode that just continuously and did a Tension 2. And then we see Madonna's copying that, and she's doing a Confessions on a Dance Floor 2, although there's 20 years between those albums. And we're seeing Lady Gaga coming back with a very regressive, reductive, going back to her former style of music, because if you'll recall, she abandoned that old pop that she used to do and renounced her Little Monsters and said, I want to move on and do other things. And then they failed and she realised she couldn't. So although Chromatica or whatever it's called didn't work, she's gone back and she's basically just redoing her old stuff, but it's working. Everyone's like, yay, Lady Gaga's back. And it's like, okay, that's totally reductive. It's like it's not art. It's just, there's always sort of been the artists and the entertainers. The artists make a statement, they make a connection with the audience, their work's about something. It may not, connect with the general audience, but it finds an audience. And then you have your entertainers who are just doing what everyone wants to see, everyone wants to hear. They're just connecting with the mass audience, following the trends, creating the trends, writing the trends. And then when the trends end, they disappear because they've got nothing beneath it. And I saw an interesting direct comparison between Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, because Katy Perry was, this video was saying that she won the battle, but Lady Gaga won the war, because Katy Perry was basically just doing really safe pop, following all the trends, and they sort of were neck and neck for a while, but then she maintained her sort of pop appeal, and she did really well with Prism and Raw, whereas Lady Gaga continued on her sort of artistic explorations with art pop, and it flopped pretty bad. But she got respect from her audience from that because she was doing something creatively, artistically, and there are fans of that album. Whereas the people who followed Katy Perry and sort of trends, those trends sort of ended, and it's not sort of the same thing. And I thought that was interesting, the way they were sort of pointing out the difference there, and the whole thing of recession pop and how that's coming back. I'm like, what's recession pop? I'm like, oh, that's right. America had a recession and it affected the culture and how they marketed music and how people were responding to it, because it was a depressing time, cynical time, and people just wanted nonsensical, banger pop music to dance to. And in other countries, like Australia, we didn't quite have that perception of it, because we may have received that music and seen it and embraced it and all that, but it didn't quite resonate in the same way because we weren't in the sort of recession America was. And I mean, it was a world issue, but it hit America bigger, so and just culturally was more definitive, I think. But it's just interesting to see how this is playing out, because now Gaga, who she built and cultivated this audience through making artistic endeavors instead of just trying to make, sell albums and have hits. And Katy Perry has totally bottomed out. Her second last album I never even heard of is called I don't remember. It was like a picture of her dressed as a clown or something. Sideshows. I don't know what. It flopped. It got like 50,000 views or something. Views. It got nothing. And I'm like, okay. And then she came back with this other album. It was supposed to be a big comeback, and it just flopped. And people are sort of surprised. And it's like, well, she's just trying to do the same safe pop, but she doesn't have the following of the kids who were listening then, because they've all moved on, and now the new kids don't know or care who Katy Perry is. Because there isn't that connection, because she wasn't connecting with the audience by talking about something or herself, whereas Gaga was doing that. So Gaga has kept this audience and grown this sort of audience, and with each sort of album you bring new people into the fold, and she was sort of playing the long game and following the Madonna long game approach, which she's been doing for 40 years, and it's taken that long for her to work that out. And now it's very easy for people like Gaga to look at Madonna and copy her and follow her sort of plan and sort of succeed on the same level, where she does have that fan base that goes with her, and she has managed to maintain a certain level of respect artistically by doing things that she seemed to be doing, a thing as opposed to just riding the current sort of trend or whatever. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Lady Gaga because she stole off Madonna and Bowie and Grace Jones and presented it to a younger crowd who didn't know who those people were and pretended like she created that and she was a unique creation that, only she, was responsible for. And she famously said she was inspired by no one. And I haven't forgiven her for that and I never will. But she has at least, she's managed to survive. And even though she is regurgitating her former music, because she went away from it long enough but did things were artistically sound, people were wanting her to go back. Because normally what people do, like Katy Perry do, is they wear out their welcome. They keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then people get sick of it, the trend ends and they go away. Gaga, on the other hand, she left that behind and people wanted more Born This Way. They wanted more of that. They sort of went with her and they were interested in this and this and this, but they wanted to go back, and she's come back and it's going to work. But it's a one-trick pony. She can't do this again in a couple of years because, or maybe she might get 2 albums out of it. But it's only great because we wanted her to come back and do this. Now she's done it. If she just does it again and again and again, she's going to, go the way of Katy Perry. So that's why I'm a bit worried about Madonna. But she can probably do what Gaga has just done and do a return to an earlier part of her career, era of her career, and have people embrace it and accept it as its own difference and its own shift and change and something different, even though she's redoing something and going backwards and being regressive. She hasn't been regressive before, so it's like new. So she might be able to get away with it for an album. It might be a little revival moment, and that can put her on the map with new audiences and new listeners and the kids. Maybe they'll follow her to the next album and the next album, and then, so I'm guessing that's the approach. I don't know if Madonna's sitting there in a room plotting this out, or if it's her people plotting this out, or if it's just happened organically, or if she's looked at other people and said, well, it worked for Kylie, it was working for Gaga, I'm going to do the same thing. I don't know. But it's just kind of interesting to see how there is this recessive, reductive regurgitation of our pop divas and their best eras, and it's working. And I'm just wondering if it's sort of like a trend and how long it's going to last and how it's going to go. And it's just interesting. And I was curious what happened to Katy Perry because I was aware her last album flopped. There was a lot of talk about it, and then it flopped. I'm like, what happened? I didn't realize she had been declining for a while, and it would explain why I don't own a Katy Perry album. I've never listened to anything. I've heard a couple of her singles, and I did feel that she had no artistic integrity in that she just seemed to be following trends and making fun of herself. She seemed to not have any, like Madonna always had an image and this is who I am and projecting that, and Gaga did that, whereas Katy Perry was just sort of making fun of herself and like, oh, don't take me too seriously, don't be threatened by me, and that doesn't really work for growing and sustaining like a following and an audience. It's like the mainstream will sort of eat it up for a while, but then they're just going to move on to the next thing and forget about it, and that's kind of what they've done with her. So I just found all that interesting. I was watching a couple of videos. There's sort of, you watch one thing and then another thing comes up, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what we're going through. We sort of had this era and that era, and now this person's doing this, and okay. And I'm just seeing sort of like the big three, Kylie, Madonna, and Gaga, are all sort of now doing the same thing. Kylie did it because she sort of went, she did Golden, was her last album before that, and it was amazing, it was great, and she had artistically gone in different directions, had some success, but it wasn't until she sort of went back and did this sort of going back to her sort of pop roots and just making a banger, and then riding that as far as she could. Madonna's doing that, Gaga's doing that now, and Madonna's going to do that, so I'm okay with Madonna following a trend, I guess, but normally she leads them and creates her own thing, but as long as it doesn't become now like what she does, because it's not going to work just following trends. But you can kind of get away with repackaging yourself once or twice, I guess, but you can't keep doing it. So we'll see what happens with the next album, and we'll see what happens after that. But it's all very interesting, and I decided to talk about it for a minute because I just want to see what other people think. And my YouTube videos are my YouTube therapy. I just talk about stuff that interests me or I need to work out in my head and just articulate it and get it out there and sound it out. But yeah, what do you think of Gaga? I am going to be nicer about it, and I really regret I'm not going to be seeing Kylie's tour. It just started in Perth. It looks great. It's not a farewell tour. Maybe I'll catch her another day if I come back to life. But yeah, I'm kind of missing this era of Kylie. I haven't been to a club since she did Padam Padam. I'm not going to be seeing this album, this tour. I mean, and I'm not going to be seeing Cyndi Lauper's farewell tour or anything. But yeah, I'm kind of glad my girls are back. I just want them to do it with integrity, not damage their careers in the process of what seems like trying to chase the past and sort of get the sort of current sort of general audience and follow the sort of current trends or whatever. I don't know. I'm just going to sit back and see what happens.